So, here's how to make a floating house in Scrap Mechanic using a weird glitch that I discovered. I don't know if I'm the first one to discover it, but I just came across this through experimentation after I was messing around with the stabilizer glitch, which uses a similar method to encase a stabilizer inside of blocks. Here, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be putting a piston inside of a block using a similar method. So we build a little device like this using bearings. So in Scrap Mechanic, when I have something on top of a lift like this, it remains completely stable. I can bang it with my hammer. Well, that breaks it, but if those were more stable blocks, then it wouldn't break it. The point is, it doesn't go flying off anywhere. Well, it will if I'm not using. This is a glass block. I should be using like one of those bulletproof glass blocks, actually. Where are they? Right here. An armored glass block. That's why it broke so easy. So let's start over here. Basically just putting a bearing on each block that we put down so that it can rotate around like a crazy little janky thing. And now if I smash it with my hammer, it should probably do nothing. Yeah, see, it doesn't go anywhere. This is completely stable when it's on the lift. If I take it off, though, it'll flop around like that. So what we want to do, this stack here that's got two pieces that are not bound with a bearing here, let's mark it with a pipe like this so we can see where the opposite side of it is. This is just like what you do when you're making the stabilizers with the stabilization blitz, by the way. Okay, so it fell fortuitously there. We can get to the other side. We want to take a piston and put it onto this side like this. And there we have it on its lift by itself. And you can see that the piston has been encased in glass. Now, if we take this off right now, it's going to go wonky and fly all over the place, probably. I'm not going to show you because I don't want it to do that. But just be warned that you don't want to do that. So what we want to do, and this is kind of hard to do because as you can see, when I put my my welder over top of this, it kind of flickers on and off. But we want to weld this so we get blue sparks here. So keep trying until we get some blue sparks to weld these two together. There we go. Yeah, so the way to do it is to get that to glow and then to weld it up like that. So now that those two are welded together, we can take apart all of the remaining blocks that we don't want to have on here. And that's everything besides the encased piston. This is exactly like what you do when you're making the stabilizers, except instead of using the suspension, we're using a piston. So there we have an encased piston. If we just take our thing out, there it is by itself. Okay, so this can then be treated as like its own block with its own properties, and it has an interesting property that a regular piston doesn't seem to have, and that's this. If I put like a piston, let's do piston here like this. See, we can't even get a piston by itself like that as its own block. But even if we take it off and then we want to weld something to it, when we weld to this end here, it's right on the piston. And we can't weld to the other end. There's no way to do it. So this piston, on the other hand, if we try to weld on this end, you see the end that we can't weld onto, it pushes us out by another block. But it gives us a weld spot anyway. It gives us one that's like a space out. So if we take our lift like this, we put a block on it like this. We can use our weld tool, pop it on there, and you've got a floating piston all by itself. Once you have this, I would save it. I already have this saved in my creations, so I'm not going to do that, but you can save it and then take it off. When you take it off the piston the first time, it's going to do that. Now, look what happens if I put it back on the lift, not the piston, sorry. Look what happens when I put it back on the lift. The first thing that's going to happen is it's going to collapse back down together. So something about this, it doesn't like it. It doesn't want you to do that. So we don't want to do that. You only get a one shot at this. You can take it off of the lift once, but you can't put it back onto the lift in a normal way. So I'm going to load these from my saved items here. I have it here. Right here, floating piston. Okay. So I'm going to take it off. And I'm going to give myself another floating piston here. I've got two of them. Taking into account that weird property where there's this sort of like block here that's not supposed to exist, let's see what happens if we try to put something in there using the weld tool. So if I go like this and I take that side of the item that we just created and I try and weld it here, you'll see what it's going to try to do is it's going to try and put them together like that. But what will happen if everything goes as planned here is that it's going to crash my game. But that's what I want. So let's do that. There we go. As you can see, it did crash my game. I don't know if it will crash your game as well. It might have different results. This is just something I discovered while I was playing around with the game. But if I go back into creative mode, I do get consistent results when I come back, and this is the weird part that's kind of cool. So as you can see, when I come back into my game, all these other blocks are kind of scattered around on the ground, and they're, you know, shaking like they have PTSD or something. But let's get rid of them because we don't need them. The interesting part is right here. This piston is floating in the middle of the air, and it has no business being there. You know, it's casting a shadow and everything, and just floating there in the middle of nature like its own little entity without any appreciation for the physics of the game whatsoever. We can smash it with a hammer. It doesn't go anywhere. We can jump on top of it, and we can even build onto it here and get ourselves a nice little floating platform. You will notice that the sides kind of flicker, and sometimes you might get problems where it doesn't fix onto it right away, but they are attachable. It's just a glitched out block. And then as you can see here, you can get a nice big platform. This seems to go out as far as you want. It seems to be completely stable and doesn't really have any difficulty standing on its own. You can even, you know, affix different creations onto it using this. So let's say I want to use like a turret on here, like this. I've got the, let's see, let's do it like this. And flip it on its side for a second just so I can get, put that there. Use the weld tool and pop it onto here so I can just get it on its side. Need a block first of all. And we want to weld from there, say. We can even just keep it flat. We don't need that block. Oh boy. Put that back. Let's get rid of these ones. Okay, now we can weld it to the other spot over here. We should be able to put this up here like this on on there. And this turret will go wild if I have it on a just loose. The pressure will make it go backwards. But if I turn it on here, it's not firing right now. I don't know why. Do I need to hook something up? Yeah, these aren't hooked up. That's why. Hold on. But you see that it's going to be completely stable. The platform's not going to get pushed anywhere, even though it's floating in the middle of the air. I mean, if it was capable of being pushed somewhere, that would almost be better. You could put thrusters on it and just have this levitating platform. But as it is, it's just a stable floating platform. There it is. It's firing. Rotating. And it doesn't push anything backwards. It's completely stable. Like that. So, you know, that could be useful. You might even be able to lift it up higher by raising your lift or whatever. You may find other applications, like you make a floating house for it or whatever. The one thing to be aware of here, and the one sort of limitation of this that makes it like not as great, is you can totally take this whole structure out of floating just by removing any single block anywhere from it. Now, I don't know about up on here. Yeah, that even does it too, even if you take it from the structure. But if you took it down from any of these bottom platform ones here, or this piston, it's going to fall down as well. So don't mess around with it once you've got it floating. Leave it there. It should remain floating in your world as long as you do so. Now, I haven't tested this survival. I haven't tested it over multiple start and loads on creative either, but it's a pretty cool thing to play around with. Maybe there are other applications for it too. Would love to hear from you if you've tried anything like this, or you can think of anything else you could do with these weird floating pistons. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye now.